Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Clubhouse Picks, brought to you by Godzilla Wins. I'm your host, Jack Fredericks, editor of GodzillaWins.com, where you can get all of your sports picks and predictions on everything from the NBA to the UFC. Clubhouse Picks is your go-to podcast for PGA predictions, tournament previews, and salty picks for the veteran golf fan. It is a lovely, lovely, lovely Tuesday evening here, right after the U.S. Open, June 20th, 2023. We're here to give you our picks and predictions for the Travelers Championship, which is an elevated event coming off the heels of a major at TPC River Highlands in Connecticut. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Nate Perry, the greatest handicapping caddy west of the Rockies. Welcome to the show, Nate.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Glad you could join us while you're on vacation down there in Texas.
Yeah.
Before we get started here, Nate, I do want to talk a little bit about some important news of your financial future.
Oh my God.
What?
Oh, my financial. Oh, we're talking about Birch Gold. Never mind. I thought we were talking about me losing bets.
Oh, no. Let me talk about Birch Gold. Although your financial future really could use a little diversification in precious metals, which is exactly what Birch Gold does. One thing about Nate is pretty much all your investments are in your William Hill account. What I would suggest that you do is just check out Birch Gold. There's such an importance in diversifying in silver and gold and precious metals with either your IRA or your 401k or all sorts of stuff like that. You know, I've got an IRA that's backed by stocks, and I have one that is backed by precious metals. And one of the reasons is because the stock market is so volatile, and you just need a hedge against the volatility of the market. So what I want everyone to do, I want you to text Godzilla to 989898. That's Godzilla to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold. They'll help you convert your existing IRA or 401k that's tied to a volatile market into an IRA in precious physical metals. That's Godzilla to 989898 to claim your free info kit on gold today. Now, Nate, if you want, we can talk about your horrible betting strategy after you've diversified in precious metals with Birch Gold.
Yeah.
So,
well,
in order to do that, let's go ahead and recap the U.S. Open, which I think was a frustrating loss for both of us there. But, you know, one that I think neither was too, like I wasn't surprised at the Wyndham Clark winning. But before we talk about Wyndham, talk about probably your third or fourth week in a row of basically just missing a huge payout.
Yeah. So it started with Siwoo a couple of weeks ago at the Memorial. Right there in the hunt until the back nine. Then it continued on with Justin Rose at the Canadian Open, right there until the back nine. And then we get Ricky Fowler, who's there, breaks the U.S. Open scoring record at 62 on Thursday, keeps it going on Friday, hangs on Saturday, and you think, all right, bad round's out of the way, nerves are over, we can get the win here. Certainly Wyndham Clark isn't going to put up that much of a fight against Ricky. We had doubts. We talked about it on the radio show on Saturday that we thought that maybe Rory would regress a little bit with the putter, which he did. I thought that, just even par at -10 would win, which it did. I just didn't think that it would be Wyndham being the guy that kept it together at -10. I really thought it would be Ricky playing clean enough to do that. So another tough week where it felt like we handicapped it well. Ricky played his ass off, and we just it's just hard to win outrights. That's bottom line.
It is hard to win outrights. It felt a little easier if you were picking Scotty and Rahm earlier in the year. But one of the fantastic things about golf is that guys who are playing well win. And we've been talking about Wyndham Clark before he won. What did he win? The Byron Nelson? That sounds wrong. I can't remember.
No, he won at Quail Hollow. He won the Wells Fargo.
Yeah, that's right, the Wells Fargo. So, and we were talking about him before that, and I was kind of complaining that I didn't put him on my card then. I didn't put him on my card at the US Open either, because of really the fact that he hasn't performed well in majors at all. But we're basically having to reimagine who Wyndham Clark is as a golfer, because right now he's playing, I mean, this is his second win inside of a month. He's playing like one of the best golfers in the world. His driving accuracy and his driving off the tee have always been really strong. And now we see that his approach his iron game has really picked up, and he's always been a good putter. So he was missing, one aspect of his game. And you see that with a lot of these guys. There's one aspect that they're just dog crap in, and there's other aspects that they're really strong in. And he was one tweak, I guess, away from being an elite golfer. But I never really thought he had it in him to keep the lead on Sunday and fend off some of the best golfers in the world, including Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, and a couple others were lurking as well, giving themselves a puncher's chance. I mean, even Cam Smith kind of snuck into the top 5 a little bit there at the end. So, I mean, props to Wyndham. Like, that was not an easy win. I know a lot of people, I know you would have seen the shot on 18. A lot of people kind of complain that, he's got a 1-stroke lead over Rory, and he hits like basically an errant tee shot on 18 that lands in the fairway because it's so wide. A lot of people complained about that. Not sure if you have thoughts on kind of the wide fairways.
I mean, the wide fairways, I think that the narrative that they sort of pushed on TV to protect LA Country Club wasn't wrong. The fairways were wide because it was just so much more important to get a good angle in for a second shot than it was, to sort of just bomb it. So I didn't mind the wide fairways. I thought it made it sort of interesting, and I thought it gave guys like a lot of options. And we can see from the leaderboard that what it ended up doing was, for as much as guys complained about this golf course, when you look at the top 10, there's a lot of guys that sort of do it in a variety of different ways, and they're all elite players, but there's no like one overriding skill set that seems to have been just gigantic for them. Like even like Tom Kim's a relatively short hitter out there, and even he sort of snuck into the top 10 and shot a 29 on the front 9. So from that perspective, I think that it allowed sort of everyone to be able to play this golf course in a way that was interesting. So I didn't mind the wide fairways that much, but there were some other things. I mean, the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that because it was so sort of sparsely attended, that'd be a good way to put that, that it made it maybe easier for a guy like Wyndham, who's not really used to playing in front of a gigantic crowd, as opposed to someone like Rory, who's been, at Augusta, at US Opens that have been gigantic, Open Championships that have been huge crowds, these really, really massive crowds that can do a lot to sort of rattle you. That was always sort of one of the things that people said about Tiger was it was just so hard to play with him at the end of majors, because the crowd was just so gigantic and so unruly that it really just, even guys that were elite players sort of had trouble just sort of dealing with like the chaos of it. Wyndham didn't have to deal with that. Wyndham basically won the US Open in what felt like a practice round.
Well, and so a lot of golfers, a lot of the guys on the tour complained about that. A couple things that they complained about, and I'll circle back to the Wyndham thing because I think it's important. Number one is that the course, some golfer, a couple tour players said, or I think maybe Matt Fitzpatrick, I don't want to say couple, but I know at least one said, listen, this is more like something you'd play for fun. It's not a tour course, so even though there were some challenges, those guys don't like when every fairway hit, when you drive the fairway, the ball lands in the same spot because the fairways are sloping in a really particular way where you can kind of only land in one spot. It takes some of the strategy out. Victor Hovland complained that the course, there were some good holes, there were no great holes, and there were bad holes. Brooks Koepka complained about the blind tee shots. And I think that, some of that complaining has to do with the fact that it's the USGA, not the PGA. They don't ever seem to bitch too hard about the PGA, or the PGA courses. But, the other thing is the fact that it was sparsely attended. LACC tried to keep this really kind of private in many ways. They bought up a lot of the tickets. They didn't leave a lot for the public, and they tried to buy up pretty much all the tickets for their members, so their members could have this like sort of private viewing of a major championship. And it robbed the US Open of a lot of like its atmosphere that we're used to seeing, and maybe open the door for a guy like Wyndham Clark, who might fold under a little bit more pressure. I think it's pretty interesting that the RBC Canadian Open was 100 times more difficult to win than the US Open this year, just based on the crowd. I mean, the crowd at the Canadian Open 2 weeks ago was absolutely live. It was rocking. It was awesome. It was like, it was great to see. And, you know, obviously they were cheering for their boy and Nick Taylor, but it made it difficult for Fleetwood to, you know, finish on those playoff holes. And that would have never, I mean, it didn't, like, it wasn't even fun watching them come around to the 17th and the 18th because there was no anticipation. There weren't a bunch of people scrambling to get to the tee box. The grandstands didn't feel packed. I mean, it was just like, I don't know. It felt like you said, like a practice round. There weren't a lot of people, and it was annoying.
And
Maybe it opened the door for Wyndham, maybe not. I don't know.
And I took that practice round thing from one of the members of the golf media who was there, and he just said it just didn't feel right. He just said, you know, he's like, I've been to a lot of practice rounds, and that's what this felt like to me. You know, that was sort of the overriding. It wasn't like I just made that up. Like someone who was there had said that, and they said it as part of sort of a larger rant, which is basically like, yeah, LA Country Club is exclusive, but so is Augusta National, and at least Augusta National like tries to make it a fun event for fans, and it has one of the most live atmospheres in professional golf, you know. So it's like you can be exclusive and still, you know, want people to have fun. It's like LA Country Club wanted to be exclusive and not want people to have fun.
I think they wanted to, this is kind of, and this is also conspiracy, but if I'm running a country club and I'm making this decision, what I'm thinking is I am trying to sell memberships to one of the most exclusive clubs in America. And now one of my selling points is that when we host a major, we're going to make sure that you basically can do whatever you want, because there's not going to be anyone here. Because we're going to buy up most of the tickets, because that's what we can do, because we're LACC. So I don't know. I'd be shocked if there was another major here in
but I mean, is that even a selling point? Because like now, like there's going to be like no way. Like we're not doing a major there because it sucks. So like you had your chance to like have that as a selling point, and you like you bobbled it so badly that now nobody wants to go back there. Yeah,
but just because nobody wants to go back there doesn't mean they won't force it. I mean, we've definitely seen the PGA make
power of money in golf.
Yeah, for real. Like, so it's definitely, I still think it's probably on the table, but it was just not the US Open that we were used to seeing. And it's fine. I mean, like a lot of guys said they liked the course, you know. Scotty Scheffler said he liked the course. A lot of people thought it was fun. I mean, you know, Brooks loves to complain. That's kind of his thing. Bryson DeChambeau liked the course. You know, there are some challenges. It did even out. Like you could be strong off the tee and have a pretty terrible short game like Scotty, or not short game, but putting like Scotty or Rory and be in the mix. Or you could be like a short course guy like Harris English, who's a really good putter, but struggles off the tee, who was kind of in the mix as well, or someone like Tom Kim. So I do think that in the way that they built the course, it was probably, you know, fair. But
which is something the USGA does not always do. Yeah.
Oftentimes they've preferred to favor bombers. You know, we all know that. So it was nice to get sort of an eclectic leaderboard, but who cares if nobody like is there watching? It's not fun. It's not electric. So you kind of just want to turn it off.
Yeah.
Now I will say, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, it was just like there were no cheers. I mean, that was like Fitzpatrick made that hole in one, and it was like, you know, a couple claps, and he was like, that was like when he sort of like noticed how bad it was he makes a hole in one, and he like wasn't even sure if he made a hole in one.
Yeah.
Because nobody like freaked out. He was like standing there on the tee box being like, I guess that went in, and everyone's like, oh, good shot or whatever. It's like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, I tried to defend Wyndham a little bit. Like, he is playing like one of the best golfers in the world right now over the last month. I don't know how sustainable that is. I don't know if he's going to win another tournament, if he's going to lose some of that iron game and go back to, T75 at the PGA or whatever, which was his highest major championship win. I have no idea. But regardless of the crowd, like there's no reason why he couldn't have won that, even with a raucous crowd. Yeah, he hit sort of a weird cut on 18 that landed in the fairway, but for the most part, like, I mean, the dude played steady golf. Rory, like, here's the thing I love about this is the stat I love that I think really shows Wyndham's talent right now. So Rory scored the lowest second place score at a US Open ever. So it's that score has always been good enough for a first place score. Now we know that there was a little bit lower scoring at this US Open, but it also just speaks to the fact that Wyndham Clark was able to stave off a pretty determined Rory McIlroy. I don't think, I mean, regardless of the crowd, that's difficult to do with the last group, and you're playing with Ricky. So yeah, I mean, you have a grouping that you're like a little behind Rory, but at the same time, like, I don't know, McIlroy could have made a couple more of those putts, and Wyndham Clark did because he's an elite putter. So
yeah, I mean, credit to Wyndham too. The tee shot might have been squirrely or whatever, if people are complaining about that, but he also two putted from 60 feet to win.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
He did that all day. So, I mean, all day the
short game was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all day he was 50, 60 feet out, and he would, two putt with a tap in, basically an easy tap in. He did that on 18. So easy to push that 7-8 feet past the hole and three putt and open the door for Rory in a playoff, which probably would have gone Rory's way. And what Rory McIlroy was, of course, hoping for, trying to win the US Open. So I think credit to Wyndham Clark. We should have been on it, but I mean, I don't feel as horrible about that one as the Wells Fargo, because
the Wells Fargo one was just right there for us.
Yeah, we swung and missed, and a lot of other people didn't. Nobody really had Clark on their card this week, and he was a real long shot. And even though he was playing really well, I mean, there's just too many other guys to choose from in a major. It's hard to take a flyer on a guy who just hasn't really shown up in any major.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, this is the first time he's ever made a cut in the US Open and he won it. So, that's pretty crazy. This is like, I think his 7th major, and he's only made one cut. It was the PGA a couple of years ago. So, I mean, he's just a guy that's like not really major tested, which is another, sort of, it was just hard to see coming, there's just nothing that spoke to his previous results in majors to be like, oh, Wyndham Clark is starting to figure it out. Like, he's never even made the cut at US Open.
Nope. Well, one thing that we'll see that sucks about Wyndham is his price is going to skyrocket. And all of a sudden he's going to be like Matt Fitzpatrick at the 18 to 20 to 1 for like the next 6 months, especially if he wins like 2 or 3 more tournaments. And then he should be, but it was nice to get that 60, 70 to 1 price on a guy who was playing golf like one of the best golfers in the world. So, we'll see. He really, I mean, the guy woke up this week, really this month. And I think one of the reasons, Nate, is most likely, I think Wyndham Clark probably is drinking a lot of Beard Vet coffee. I can't start my day, Nate, without Beard Vet coffee. This is the best coffee on the market. You can go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. And you can shop all different types of flavors. They've got whole bean. They've got K-cup. They've got the ground beans, if you like that. This is incredible coffee. They've got dark roast, light roast, all the sort of flavors that you could like. I take my coffee black. I don't ever put anything in it, but every week I go to beardvet.com and I order myself some coffee. It gets here in about 2 to 3 days maximum. We're talking maximum. I mean, this thing arrives so quick, and it's just incredible coffee. And it's coffee from founded by veterans. So not only are you drinking great coffee, but you're supporting some veterans. This is a veteran operated organization. They're extremely popular. They've been really incredible. Great customer service. If you ever need anything, great swag, and go on there and get some swag as well. So you go to beardvet.com and you put in that promo code Godzilla. That's Godzilla, just like Godzilla wins. Promo code Godzilla, 10% off all coffee. So you get a couple bucks discount there. Coffee gets there quickly. I get the whole beans. They're super oily. I rip off the bag. I grind them up right there in my coffee pot, and I start drinking it every single morning. I do not start my day without Beard Vet coffee. So go to beardvet.com. That's beardvet.com. Promo code Godzilla, 10% off your coffee Neat. Okay, Nate. So we're gonna close the door on the U.S. Open. We're all a little salty about some of the ways that things shook out, especially our Ricky Fowler future, which is now in the trash. But we live to fight another day. So let's talk about the Travelers Championship. I know you're kind of excited that this is an elevated event. I am too. This is one of the best golf courses on the PGA Tour at TPC River Highlands. So as a veteran golf fan and handicapper, tell us a little bit about TPC River Highlands and what makes this course so special.
So TPC River Highlands been on the schedule for a long time. It was sort of an interesting event to get the designated sort of elevated distinction in a lot of ways, because it's not typically a hugely sort of trafficked event by elite players. But I'm excited to see it. You know, Cromwell, Connecticut's more or less sort of a bedroom city to New York City, so the crowds will be live. Be a lot of people taking the train out there to watch it. We're not going to have we had at LACC which is just like a snooze of a tournament. There will be people there, and they're going to be excited because 37 of the top 50 in the world there, 8 out of the top 10. This is going to be a legit event. Scotty's there, John Rahm's there, Rory's there, everybody's there. Wyndham Clark is even going to be there. He maintained his spot in there, so even he'll be there, defending U.S. Open champion, reigning U.S. Open champion. So it'll be a good event from that way. In terms of the course, it's one that it's really accessible for almost everyone. The sort of comps that you often see are a lot of those sort of designs. Harbor Town is really sort of a good comp. Maybe Pebble Beach, small greens, pretty short. You have to be precise off the tee, not necessarily a bomber. And, if you can hit greens and put yourself in good position, you can go really low here. Cantlay famously sort of went really low here, basically barely missing out on shooting 59. He shot 60 as an amateur here. Jim Furyk shot the lowest score ever on tour of 58 here. So guys can go low, and Jim Furyk is by no standard a bomber. So if Jim Furyk can shoot 58 here, Scotty Scheffler should be able to shoot like 55 here under the right conditions.
Not too much on my boy Jim Furyk.
Not to dog on Jim Furyk, but
great golfer.
Like he wasn't playing at like the TD Green level Scotty is right now when he shot 58. So
he probably was making putts though.
Yeah, he might have been making putts. So from that perspective, guys will go low here. It's a little bit of a birdie fest. It should be a welcome sort of reprieve after a U.S. Open that was sort of challenging in a number of ways for them, sort of at least mentally. This will be a little bit of a breath of fresh air. But from a handicapping perspective, you're looking, I'm sort of targeting guys that are, good strokes gained approach, guys who can catch a hot putter. Those are sort of the big things. Distance really doesn't matter very much. This is definitely a precision course, fairways hit, that sort of thing. Definitely that kind of a golf course.
Yeah. So been around since 1928, par 70, 6,800 yards. A Pete Dye redesign in 82 got the course on the tour by 84, and it's been on the tour basically ever since. Went through a couple more redesigns in 89 by some other pretty legendary course architects, and in 2016 they made the sand traps a little bit more accessible. Bent grass tee to green, so you might want to look at some bent grass putting numbers. Some guys putt well on bent grass, and others really, really struggle, guys who you wouldn't normally think. Holes 15 through 17 are some of the most famous holes in golf because they play around a 4-acre lake. That's very Pete Dye-esque. He likes to incorporate water and test players' ability to work around and be creative in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Good to be creative on any Pete Dye course. Good to be able to play in difficult conditions, but it isn't like a slog, like you said. Now, Birdie Fest, yes, it's not, no one's going to shoot 25 under, but 17 under, 16 under. I mean, that's out there. There's going to be some low scores, and you're really hoping you can catch a couple guys who have a pretty strong short game, are accurate, good off approach, and can take advantage of the birdies and also sort of avoid some of the more difficult hazards as you get up towards the green. A lot of par fours as well. There's like more par fours here than on most courses. So a couple things that I'm looking for Also fescue rough, bluegrass fescue rough, which we haven't seen a ton of this year. I'm glad to get away from the Bermuda because that last week was kind of like, so fescue rough isn't going to trap a ball as much. It always depends on how high the rough is, but Bermuda can really snag a ball and all of a sudden it disappears. Bluegrass is just it's not going to do that. I've got a lot of bluegrass in my yard because I accidentally seeded a bunch of my yard with bluegrass when I didn't mean to. And I can tell you from having a bunch of bluegrass in my yard now, that a golf ball is not going to be swallowed in the same way that it is on Bermuda. So the grass is always a good consideration. I'm looking at strokes gained off the tee, driving accuracy, approach, of course, par 4 scoring average is big for me, greens in regulation. Then the little stuff, birdies are better, bogey avoidance, scrambling from the rough, all the kind of short game stuff that I think on a Pete Dye course you kind of need. The really interesting thing too that I like here is that because it's kind of a sparsely attended event, you got some guys don't play this very often, some of the big hitters, but a lot of the guys who are not big hitters, not named Rory McIlroy or Scotty Scheffler, play this course every year because they have to. So you got guys like Harris English, who's on my card this week. We'll talk about him, who is very familiar in ways that maybe like Rory isn't, although Rory's played this course a lot too. Well, think about Rory, he really grinds. So that's kind of the TPC River Highlands. Should be fun. I'm glad it's an elevated event. I think that one of the reasons that they've been doing this is like, take the elevated events after the major so that not everyone takes off. And you can kind of keep the momentum going. And then after that, give everybody a break. So we'll see.
Yeah. This course can be won by anyone. Harris English has wins here. Dustin Johnson has a win here. Bubba Watson has a win here. And then like Ken Duke has a win here in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So like, it's kind of like everybody can win.
Yeah. Kevin Streelman. He's another one.
Yeah.
Back when he was playing really well.
So like bombers and then guys stop. Yeah.
And guys who are, top 10 in the world and guys who are not. So you're going to see some interesting leaderboards on Thursday and Friday. This isn't going to be one where it's just John Rahm and Scheffler up at the top and everybody else is trying to play catch up. It's just not going to happen. Especially considering Scheffler can't make a putt. So let's start then with some of our big hitters here. So we'll do what's in our bag. We'll run through our picks for the travelers here. Driver, we always start with a driver, favorite heavy hitter. A lot of favorites now. These days, you get a lot of guys in the 20-1 range. Who is your driver for this week?
It has to be Scotty, right? How can it be anything other than Scotty? Even if you don't like the win price, just bet everything on his top 5 or top 10. He's plus 150 to get a top 5, and he's minus 125 for a top 10. And he's just a monster. He's finished in the top 5 in 5 straight events, in 5 straight events. So that's just like the baseline of where we're starting this. It's like he just doesn't finish outside the top 5. He hasn't won recently, but he hasn't, so top 5 in the last 5. T12 is his worst finish since October. So in terms of that, I think that there's still somehow value in Scotty at top 5 and top 10 odds, just because he doesn't seem to be cooling off. If you isolate his numbers over the last 48 rounds for this field, he leads the field in strokes gained ball striking. He leads in strokes gained approach. He leads in strokes gained off the tee. He leads in strokes gained around the green, and he leads in strokes gained tee to green. So he's just at such another level until he gets on the green that I just can't fade him even at this short price. This ball striking is just historic. It's nuts.
Plus 150 for a top 5 is pretty nice for Scotty. You're getting
right?
1.5 odds for a guy who's always finishing in the top 5 at every event. So, you're right about that. From an outright perspective, even 6-1 feels just kind of like a deal. Especially because he's just been so elite. And to be honest with you, we make fun of his putting a lot, but I think
the putter got better at US Open.
Yeah, I think over the weekend he was a plus in strokes gained. I don't know if it was for the whole week, but he started to kind of figure things out. I mean, if he goes from like 150 or 140, 140th in strokes gained approach to like 75th, he'll never lose a golf tournament. I mean, it's crazy that is his Achilles heel. That's what's stopping him from being the most dominant golfer we've seen maybe since, I don't know, maybe Tiger. I mean, to be honest with you, as far as statistics go, maybe Spieth in his heyday, but you know, Jason Day, I mean, like right around there. We're talking like some of the best golfers in the world. So I just spilled coffee everywhere. Go ahead.
I mean, I think that so he finished third at the US Open, and he was 37th in strokes gained putting. You know, the only people that were really worse than him sort of putting that were near the top of the leaderboard was like Tommy Fleetwood, who just got hot on Sunday and basically stormed up it after a pretty mediocre 3 days, and Dustin Johnson, who just missed every putt we ever saw him take on TV. So he putted okay. I mean, did we see Dustin Johnson make anything outside of 4 inches when he just tapped in another birdie that just slid by the hole? So I mean, Scotty like putted okay. You know, really, it was this sort of short game that kind of let him down for the event. You know, 17th is not like him. But you know, I mean, he was right there again. You know, he's just so good. And the floor on him is just like so high compared to everyone else. Like he just doesn't have like, you know, like John Rahm didn't have a good tournament this week. You know, he shot 65 on Sunday to sneak into the top 10, but he didn't have a good tournament, right? And he's really the only player in the conversation of like, this is, you know, a historic type season is basically Rahm and Scotty at this point. All the rest of these guys have been playing well, but not like that. And so, you know, Rahm's ceiling is pretty high, but his floor is also a lot lower. I mean, Scotty's just right there every week. He just doesn't take weeks off. So
no, he doesn't. He's the best bet just in general. Like if you're going to just bet, if you're going to swallow the price and just bet him at 6-1, you might as well, because statistically he's just the best golfer in the world right now. I am going to go a different route though. I'm going to go with Rory this week. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I build this card based a little bit on my DFS, the fantasy picks. So he's a little bit cheaper, which gives me just a kind of a little wiggle room at the back end because I've got some other guys that are pretty pricey on that lineup. So that's one thing. Two, I think his odds shouldn't be 12-1 for just an outright, considering he's like basically threatening to win every tournament lately and seems to be playing angry, which is my favorite type of Rory. And then for pretty much everything, I mean, the stuff that I looked at this week, he's not great. You know, he's like 161st in driving accuracy, which sort of gives you pause, I guess, a little bit. But I mean, 4th in strokes gain, total strokes gain, 2nd in strokes gains off the tee. I mean, let's see, like 42nd in par 4 scoring average. You know, some of the other stuff I looked at isn't great. Like greens in regulation percentage 92nd, but birdies are better 38th. I mean, you know, he's Rory McIlroy. He plays good golf everywhere he goes. The thing I really like about him, other than the fact that he's finishing in the top 10 as well in pretty much every event that he plays in, he's been, I think, the most consistent golfer outside of Scheffler in the last month or two, is the fact that he's played the Travelers a bunch. 2022, he finished T19, 2020, T11, 2018, T12. So, you know, he's like finishing up in the top 20, top 10. And I think probably he's like probably going to get another top 10 finish or top 5 finish here. The price is a little bit better than it is on Scotty. And I just like Rory McIlroy is going to win a tournament. So I don't know when that's going to be, but at some point he's going to. He's already won once this year. He's going to win again. So I kind of like him as my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I mean, God, he seems like he's playing angry. I mean, he really had a good chance last week. I mean, he was right there.
Yeah, he did. And he was pretty pissed when he lost, to be honest with you. Like he made a little bit of news because he went up on the podium and said, "Hey, listen, I was cheering for a 3-putt." And everybody was like, "Oh, you're supposed to be a gentleman." And it's like, I mean, come on, man. Like we're talking about,
yeah, no, you're trying to win a US Open. Like,
yeah. Like you're thinking, hey, Wyndham Clark can 3-putt this. You kidding me? Like this is like, there's a lot of pressure here.
Right.
And he turned to his agent right before he got up on the podium and said, this is, oh, I just lost the quote. He lost an open in the same sort of way. I can't remember which one it was. Shinnecock? No, not Shinnecock. That's, but it was one of them. And he's basically like, this is like the open all over again. So he was pretty pissed talking to his agent about that. So, you know, I mean, I think he's probably going to win, and the Travelers is something he can win. We're talking about Birdie Fest here. John Rahm scares me a little bit because John Rahm loves Birdie Fest. He's always like just crushing these tournaments that are, 20 under. Like he'll shoot like a 60 on Thursday and just run away with it. But he hasn't been reliable enough for me to take him this week. So we'll see. One of the things, Nate, that is really reliable, and this is just facts, is mypillow.com. You got to go to mypillow.com. You got to put in the promo code FUN. You get 80% off all of your pillow needs. Now, there's the MyPillow 2.0. This is just a pillow. This is what happens. You buy the MyPillow 2.0, you put in that promo code FUN, and you get like 50% off. So you're getting a pillow for basically half off. It comes quickly. You get it, you throw it in the dryer. You got to throw those MyPillows in the dryer for about 10 minutes, fluff them up. Then they're good to go forever. You know, most pillows, Nate, after about 3 months, they kind of lose the firmness. They lose that initial bounce that they have. You don't feel like you're sleeping on a soft pillow anymore. You feel like you're sleeping on something at a bunker in World War II off the beaches of Normandy, but not with MyPillow. You know, this thing just, it's incredible how much it holds its shape. You know, you just throw it in the dryer, 10 minutes, boom, it's there. And listen, mypillow.com, they got all sorts of stuff. They got slippers. I got those slippers on right now. They got robes, they got towels, washcloths. This is your one-stop shop for all your household needs. So go to mypillow.com, put in the promo code FUN. This is the easiest promo code in the history of the world. FUN, fun. What's not fun about My Pillows? What's not fun about golf? Promo code FUN, 80% off on all of your pillow needs, mypillow.com. Okay, so let's go, Nate, to our irons here. This is something that I think I'm pretty excited about because I got a couple guys who I think are lurking, ready for a W here. Iron is our reliable guys who maybe have won on tour, maybe not, but guys we think are primed to win a tournament. I'll start with you. Who's your big iron this week?
Hideki. I think Hideki Matsuyama is my big iron this week. Some people, he's been sort of a trendy bet. He opened in some places around 60 to 1. He quickly came down to kind of 40 to 1 across the market. And I think that's for good reason. He didn't play awesome in the final round of the US Open, but when you just look at the overall sort of stats for the last tournament, he led the field in strokes gained approach. So that's huge. He was 6 strokes gained tee to green. So he's obviously hitting the ball well, and his short game was good too. He just sucked at putting. He was just horrible at putting at LA Country Club. Hideki's never going to be the world's greatest putter. That's just a thing that we know about him at this point.
It's not his game.
But what he can be is just sort of average. And to think that he's just going to be just like tossing off strokes like multiple weeks in a row, like at that level on the greens, isn't really something that I think is bankable either. So I like Hideki at, a little bit bigger of a price, even 40 to 1's okay. Just based on the sort of ball striking numbers alone. And he plays Pete Dye designed courses really well. It's sort of a style that seems to fit his eye. I'm pretty sort of East Asian heavy on my card. Korean players and Japanese players, for whatever reason, just seem more comfortable on these sort of target golf courses where they're just kind of playing positions that are a little bit shorter, a little bit more precise. And so Hideki's kind of where I'm leading my card with a lot of these guys, just because, he finished 5th of the players. So he plays Pete Dye courses pretty well anyways. The ball striking numbers, though, for a course that favors precision, I mean, the iron game is just so strong right now. I think I just have to bet him.
40 to 1 at an elevated event for a guy who's won a major is precise and really only has one hole in his game, and that's putting, is pretty damn good. I mean, I know he hasn't been playing super well, but I would take that. I think all day. I've got one who I'm just in love with, and honestly, the stats don't even really back me up. I just love how he's been playing. That's Tommy Fleetwood, 25 to 1. I love the fact that Fleetwood came out and shot like a 62 on Sunday. I think he can carry 63. That momentum. 63, that's right. Yeah. So not the course record, but one off the course record on Sunday. And like that propelled him into, I believe, a top 5 finish. He's a streaky golfer. He likes momentum. I think he can carry that. And he's big in birdie fests. I mean, the RBC, we talked about that with birdie fests, and he was a loss in the playoff there. He's been playing really incredible golf. I mean, listen to these results, Nate. So this is just the last 4 tournaments he's played in. US Open T5, RBC Canadian playoff, lost second, PGA T18, Wells Fargo T5. So 3 top 5 finishes in his last 4 tournaments, I believe. That's pretty incredible. That's the Fleetwood we all know and love. Total strokes gained, he's 7th. Off the tee, 44th. You know, driving accuracy is a bit difficult at 84th. Approach has always been good. That's his game, 23rd. You know, some of the short game stuff maybe causes pause. Again, greens and regulation, 153rd, not great. He finished tied for 46th last year here, but I don't think he was the same player as he is right now. I think he's really trending in the right direction. In 2019, which is kind of the Fleetwood we all knew and love, he finished T13. So he's played the course a little bit. He's familiar with it. I've got 2 guys from across the pond already on my card. And this is just really betting trends. Like at this point, I'm watching a lot of golf. We're in the middle of the season, and I'm just looking at guys who are finishing in the top 5 and the top 10 in the last month or so. I mean, if Wyndham Clark proves us anything, we probably need to just be paying attention to the guys who are putting it all together at the right time. And we've seen that with a couple of them here lately. So, you know, 25 to 1's not like the best price in the world, I guess, but this is an elevated event. I mean, it's going to be hard to get a guy at 100 to 1 to get another Wyndham Clark. It's just going to be difficult. So, you know, we'll see with Fleetwood, but I'm pretty happy about that pick.
Yeah, I think Fleetwood's a fine pick. I mean, he's going to win at some point. He just has to. So
if he does, if he doesn't, it's just, I quit. Like he should quit. We should both quit.
We should all
if Tommy,
quit.
if Tommy Fleetwood can't win a tournament on the PGA, then everybody should just give up. Let's just go home because he's too good. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, and he has that really fun record now. So he's shot. So this is like one of my favorite stats to come out of the US Open is the final round record for the US Open is 63. Johnny Miller shot 63 and won the US Open in the 70s, like 1975, I think. Tommy Fleetwood has shot 63 twice in the final round. So there are 3 guys in history that have done it. Tommy Fleetwood's done it twice.
Great.
3 times it's happened. Tommy Fleetwood's got it twice, and neither time has he won. He finished second to Brooks Koepka at Shinnecock. He finished, and he stuck into the top 5 here.
Poor guy.
Just all for a little bit more money, but no trophy.
Yeah. I mean, you know, one of the things we poke fun at him for is that he loves to play when the pressure's off.
Yeah.
And
get out there early and get the 63.
Yeah. And that's real, but I don't know. I mean, I just think at some point he's going to win. I'm going to keep hammering. 25 to 1's a good price. So then let's go to the wedges. These are guys who we love that don't always win. My wedge is my favorite bet this week, just statistically. But we'll go with you first. Who's your wedge?
My wedge is, I mean, this guy's just like my ride or die at this point. Like, and I just can't quit him, even though he pisses me off all the time. Siwoo, gotta be Siwoo. He's for so long in his career, he was just a guy that I liked at Pete Dye courses. It just fit his game. He's a good iron player. He's accurate off the tee. And it always just seemed like those were going to be the courses that were best for him. Harbor Town, the Players, which he's won at a big price, those sorts of events. His results there have been different this year. He missed the cut at the Heritage, which was shocking. He didn't play particularly well at the Players. He was finished 27th, but he's had, he's peppered in some good results. He was second at the Byron Nelson, which is a ball striker course. He finished 4th at Memorial, which is the same. I'm kind of more willing to throw out major performance stats when we just bounce back to a regular season event. So I'm not like, the 39th at the US Open isn't something that I'm, overly worried about, particularly from just sort of a, betting perspective. Like, he did everything okay at the US Open. He just there wasn't like one horrible thing. He was just kind of field average at everything. So I'm more inclined to think that he'll probably bounce back a little bit this week. So I guess Siwoo is my guy at 40-1 for the wedges. I bet him every week. I mean, he'll probably. I'd like to think he has 2 wins in a season in him. So he won the Sony Open, which is another sort of ball striker heavy course, short par 70. So I'll just get back on with Siwoo. He's just sort of just a auto bet on a short course par 70 that favors accuracy. He's just like, if I see Siwoo north of 40-50-1, it's just like boom, bet. Let's go.
You're on him every week. So
yeah, I just love Siwoo.
Yeah, if he doesn't win, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. You're just gonna keep betting.
Yeah, I'll just keep firing.
Which is fine. He's a fine price. He just hasn't really put it together since January. But that doesn't mean he can't in the future. That's how good Siwoo is. I've got another Kim for you. So we're going Kim squared here is Tom Kim. This is my favorite bet of the week. And here's why. First of all, in DFS, he's 8,100, which is a pretty good price for him. He's 35-1 outright on DraftKings. Go to DraftKings.com, put in the promo code Godzilla for $150 in free pay. I mean, that's just like a no-brainer right there. So total strokes gained, he's 25th, which is kind of low. But he's got some holes in his game. Off the tees, 53rd, 54th. Approach, this is where, I mean, iron game, ball striking ability, short game. This is where he really, and he's very accurate. This is why I like him, because I kind of just think, like you say, I think his game fits the Pete Dye course a lot. So he's 8th in approach, strokes gained. He's 4th in driving accuracy. He's 12th in par 4 scoring. He's 7th in greens and regulation percentage. He's 47th in birdies or better, 11th in bogey avoidance, and then a terrifying stat, he's 137th in scrambling from the rough. That's the only hole of all the statistics that I don't like look at. I look at the course and I try to see some of the course history, and then I figure out, okay, these are the stats I want to look at based on how the course plays. And he was for me, the best golfer who fit all of this. So not named Scotty Scheffler, but even Scheffler, struggles sometimes, not with the short game, but a little bit with the flat stick. So the other thing I like about him, I mean, he finished tied for 8th at the US Open. So I like that momentum. He got cut at Memorial, cut at the PGA, T34 at AT&T, T23 at Wells Fargo. So, I mean, he's been playing okay, but I like the US Open finish. And I think as a young golfer, he can kind of carry that momentum into Connecticut. So we'll see. I just think ball striking wise, he's probably at the top of anyone in that category, and should be able to be fine on a course like this.
Yeah, he's actually my bet regret, so we can get into that next if you want to.
Yeah, before we talk about the bet and regret, one of the things you cannot do with your financial future is a bet and regret. That's why if you're looking at securing up your financial future, I need you to go to targettrading.co right now. That's targettrading.co. We have Patrick Asselone on our show on Saturday every week to talk about his wins and losses for targettrading.co. They're never in the red. These guys, what they do over there is they train you on how to trade futures, which is not an easy skill to have. Trading futures is not like buying Disney stock. There's a lot of risk involved. It's a little bit more complicated. You have to be able to read the tea leaves a little bit. You can't do that without education. And as educators, which you and I are both part of that profession, there's nobody better on the market right now than targettrading.co. So you go to targettrading.co, you put in the promo code Godzilla, you're going to get a free tour, and you're going to be just thrilled with the education you can get there. So targettrading.co, or call 888-203-3731. That's 888-203-3731. We love working with Patrick and Target Trading, and we stand behind their record. These guys, they help you secure your financial future. You might not be able to secure it with you and me and the US Open futures, but you definitely can trading futures with Patrick at targettrading.co. Okay, bet and regret. So tell us a little bit more about Tom Kim, then I'll give you my bet and regret.
Yeah, so Tom Kim is my bet and regret. Like 35-1. Just I read all these articles and they're like, oh, Tom Kim is 50-1. Bet him, blah blah blah. I never saw 50-1. I see 35-1, and I think that's just probably a little bit too short for Tom. And the narrative that I seem to be picking up from people that like Tom this week is this is a turning point in his game. He's finally figuring it out. T8 finish, this is a turning point in his season that's been pretty mediocre so far. He's had a couple top tens. He had a top 10 at the Zurich. He had a top 10 at the Amex and Tournament of Champions, back in January. But since then, he's been pretty mediocre. He's had some missed cuts, T31s, T51s, that sort of thing. He just hasn't putted very well. Since the Masters, he's lost strokes in 4 out of 7 tournaments putting. He's been basically field average in 2 of them, and he finally gained some strokes last week at the US Open. What I'm saying is, it doesn't feel like the US Open is a turning point where he figured things out to me. It just feels like he had a good tournament and he could just revert back to just being mediocre at any moment. I mean, he finished T5 earlier in the season at the Century Tournament of Champions, and you think, oh, Tom Kim is, just primed to just break out of the Sony, which is a perfect golf course for him. Misses the cut, loses a billion strokes on the green. Then he goes out and he finishes T6 at the Amex, and you think, all right, Tom Kim is back. Finishes T50 at the Phoenix Open. So I just like every good, he has like a good start, and then he just sucks the next week in a lot of these instances. Masters, T16, oh, good tournament. Loses a billion strokes on the greens at the RBC Heritage and misses the cut. So, I just look at it and I don't think that narrative of Tom Kim's finally figuring it out, he's gonna, he's primed to win, is necessarily true. We're getting up to about the 1-year anniversary of Tom Kim being on tour. So pretty soon we're gonna have a better idea of how he plays on particular courses, because right now we're still sort of living in theory and speculation, because we just haven't seen him play that much at a lot of these places. So 35-1 on sort of speculation on a course that looks like it should fit feels pretty rich, considering that we thought he was like a shoe-in to be great at the RBC Heritage, and he was just terrible. We thought he'd be good at the Sony Open, he was terrible. So I think that what we thought we knew about Tom Kim maybe isn't necessarily true, and I'm just not really willing to bite at 35-1 on a guy who's had a pretty mediocre season and has had one good result recently.
The thing I hate about Tom Kim is he's always on everybody's card. So like
everyone loves him, and I just don't like see the results. Like I just like, I also sort of have FOMO, and I'm like, well, I love Tom Kim too. I'll put him on my card, but I don't necessarily like love this bet from any sort of rational perspective other than I just like Tom.
I mean, it's the same reason I often leave Scotty off my card. He can't putt. I mean, right. If you can't put the ball in the hole on the green, then you can't win a tournament. And you're right, he's not 65-1. I mean, he's 35-1. So, and he gets hammered down every week because everybody loves him.
Right. Like his deck, he's a major winner. He's got better odds than Tom Kim does. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, people love him. I mean, it's because his statistics are just incredible. And that's a lot of times all anyone looks at with this stuff. But you can't ignore the putting. Bent grass greens are not easy. So, we'll see. I think we will see on Tom. We both like him, but we're not confident that he's just going to come out here and dominate. He's never done that before. My bet and regret this week is Harris English, and here's why. He doesn't fit the model at all in any sense of the word. This is not a course where Harris English is going to be successful, and not only
he's
that,
won here. He has a win.
Oh, yeah. I know he has a win. Let me get to that. Here's what I mean. I know he's won here before. I know he can be successful, but when you look at like the statistics for kind of what you're looking for, it's just he's the problem with him is he isn't really playing like great golf, just in general. But then sometimes he is, and I can't really figure it out. That's why he's my bet and regret. Basically, is like 1 week he has just an incredible week, the next week he doesn't. Yeah, he won here 2 years ago. It wasn't even like 5 years ago. And he's been on tour forever. So yeah, he won here 2 years ago. I don't know. I mean, of all the stuff, this is the reason he's my bet and regret. Of all the stuff that I looked at, he sucks at. I mean, 54th in strokes gained total. Okay, that's actually not too bad for him. 160th off the tee, 97th in approach, 64th in driving accuracy, par 4 scoring 89th, greens in regulation 143rd, birdies are better conversion 132nd, bogey avoidance 70th, scrambling from the rough 52nd. But the thing that he's good at is putting. And I mean, this isn't like a
Putter's been
challenging
an
course.
electric factory. Yeah.
Yeah, lately it really has. And he's been so good. I mean, US Open T8, Memorial T52, Schwab T12, cut at the PGA, T3rd at the Wells Fargo. You know, the other problem is the price is too high for someone who can really just implode at any moment. So, you know, you kind of struggle, but the price is high because he won here 2 years ago. And for someone who won 2 years ago, I mean, he's probably outright, I believe he's 65-1. So it's not exactly like he's 20-1. But you know,
Right.
I'm used to getting 100-1 on my man Harris. So yeah, I don't know. It's not that he hasn't played well here before. I know he has. But I just think that he doesn't fit my model, I guess is the better way to put that. And I'd rather just stick with my model. Because otherwise I have nothing. You know.
Otherwise, there is no logos. It's just madness.
It's just emotion. And that's all Harris Ingris is to me. We're going to win a tournament together. Like me and Harris, one day we're going to have the same feeling when he, you know, putts in from 60 feet to win the John Deere or something. And I'm going to be on him because I stick with my guys. So, you know, I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to take a guy who sort of plays okay and has been playing a little better, finished well at a major, although we saw him suck on Sunday basically, and then take him the next week. It just always seems kind of like he'll probably miss the cut. But I don't know. Like you said, he's played well here. So
I like Harris. He actually would have been my hybrid if I didn't have somebody on the card that I liked at longer odds. So I don't mind Harris here. Don't be too
I got
hard
the
on our guy.
greatest. I got the greatest long shot in the history of the game right now. So you go ahead first with your hybrid, and then I'll go with mine.
I hope we don't have the same one. Because
We
this was a
don't.
pretty great one.
No,
Adam Scott at 90-1.
All right, there you go.
Like, so he missed the cut of the US Open, like whatever. Like, if anything, maybe he just gets a little bit of rest. Like, I tend to throw these out. Like sometimes the guys just don't like it and they just kind of give up. He wasn't great off the tee or approach, but he's been great off the tee for months now. So that's not really a thing that I'm worried about. I guess I'm just looking at Scott, and maybe I just like guys that use long putters. I have Adam Scott and Siwoo on my card this week, both long putter guys. But really, I mean, Adam Scott's just been playing good golf. He's kind of been enjoying a career resurgence in a year where Ricky Fowler and Jason Day have too. Adam Scott's also been there. He's been putting really well. The ball striking numbers are okay, but the putter's always been the weak part. But he's gained strokes putting in every event since like the Masters. So I kind of like him, and he's been finishing in the top 10. He's T5 at the Wells Fargo, T8 at the Byron Nelson, T9 at the Memorial, T29 at the PGA. I mean, the game's kind of coming around on Adam Scott. 90-1 just feels too too big of a price for a guy that, you know, in a year where we're seeing this sort of career resurgence of 2013, 2014, 2015 studs. Like Adam Scott might get his again. You know, I mean, he's just playing too good not to, I think, right now. And, you know, he's not going to be afraid of this field. I mean, he's won big events before. So I like Adam Scott to just kind of keep it going, keep stacking these top 10s, top 5s.
I'm done with the 2015 resurgence.
You are.
I was all over Day, bust, at least at the US Open. These guys pissed me off. And Justin Rose, same thing, shot like 100.
Justin Rose is the guy I forgot. Yeah, the 2015 resurgence. Yeah.
Yeah, he's big on the 2015 resurgence. You know, Spieth can't resurge, and JT, who would be like a 2018 resurgence, shot an 81 at the US Open. So I'm done with the guy.
Out.
Yeah, he's out. I'm done with the guys who are resurging. I want the guys who are surging. Just that's why I like some of these other dudes. I got 2 long shots for you. We can end the show here.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you my tasty one because I can't find. Let me see if I can find the other guy. Okay. All right. So here's my one that's not really a long shot. It's not even a surprise. Aaron Rye. I mean, 110-1.
God.
Short course God. driving accuracy 6th, 12th at par 4 scoring average, 12th at greens and regulation. You know, not exactly a putting god, but he gives himself some chances. And he didn't get to play at the US Open, so he's rested a little bit. T3 at RBC Canadian, T12 at the Charles Schwab. I mean, he gets cut a lot, but if he can have a good Thursday. So the biggest thing with Rye, and someone tweeted, so he was like leading or close to leading on Thursday at the RBC, and someone tweeted, they were like, oh, like Aaron Rye just is so good on Thursday, which is not true. If he misses cuts, it's because he sucks on Thursday. You know, he shoots a 71, 72, 73, whatever. Then on Friday, he shoots like a 68. So sometimes he needs a minute to warm up. But if he shoots a 68 on Thursday, he usually keeps that momentum going. It's just he has courses that he's good at and courses that he's not. And if you like, if just short course wise, just take Aaron Rye because he's good on short courses. So that's one at 110 to 1. But here's my really good one. Kevin Yu, 300 to 1. Now, some issues with Kevin Yu. Let's start with the good. Terrific numbers across the board. Off the tee, 3rd, the strokes gained. Total strokes gained, 31st. Strokes gained approach, 31st. Driving accuracy, 44th. Par 4 scoring average, 5th. Greens and regulation, 2nd. Look at him go. Bogey avoidance, 11th. I mean, what a guy. Just an incredible golfer statistics wise. Unless you count the fact that he hasn't played on the tour since, I believe, Pebble Beach, which was in January. So he's back. He's back. And I believe he finished 7th at Pebble Beach. I don't have that in front of me, but he's like, it was the last tournament he played in was over there on the West Coast, and he was like a top 10. So he's back. He's back on tour. Nate, I can't figure out why he hasn't been on tour. I guess
he must have been injured.
Yeah,
he must have been injured. No, because he played a bunch of events at the beginning of the season, and then he just disappeared. He must have been hurt.
Yeah, I don't think he lost his like card or
no
sponsorships. I mean, he's like a good golfer. So, but I can't find any news on him. So I don't know.
Kevin Yu.
300 to 1. Kevin Yu. We forgot to do the Chan Cam. Where in the world is
Chanimal was top 25 last week. We're sitting at 43rd on the points list, so we still need to make some moves. And this week he is in Norman, Oklahoma, playing on a Corn Ferry event. He is playing the Compliance Solutions Championship at Jimmy Austin Golf Club in Norman, Oklahoma.
Norman, baby. Did you bet him?
Nah. They don't have odds yet. But I'll tell you what he's going to be, 40 to 1.
Is that where he lives?
Yes. Every week he's just 40 to 1. They just line price him.
Well,
he hasn't not been 40 to 1 since the beginning of the season.
I love that. 40 to 1.
40
Chan
to 1.
Kim. Get your Chan Kim odds here at the Live Odds Maker. I'm excited for the Travelers. I think this is going to be a fun,
I am too.
Elevated event. I think it's going to be a lot more live than the US Open. I think we may get some real heavy hitters like Rahm and Scheffler in the top here for a course that just isn't going to be super difficult. So it should be fun. It should be fun. I don't think these long shots have too much of a chance, but if you like the long shots, take Kevin Yu. So thanks everyone for listening to this week's episode of Clubhouse Picks, brought to you by Godzilla Wins. You can download Clubhouse Picks on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. Please be sure to download, rate, and review if you like the show. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Nate, after the Travelers, where are we going?
We will see you for the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, another incredible tournament in Detroit, which is a terrific golf course up there. So that'll be a lot of fun. Excited. We'll see you next week. Nate Perry, you can find him at InPerryWrites on Twitter. I'm Jack Frederick. You can find me at John Matt Fred. Thanks, Nate. As always, we see you next week in Detroit.